to turn into the wine. Let's talk about that next, the wine. The preacher's going to love this. But many times, great concern is expressed about the legitimacy of Jesus making wine. But in ancient Israel, wine was often used to cleanse water from impurities. One of the things that we learned while we were visiting the Holy Land was that, hey, you can do it if you want to. But we don't advise you to turn on a tap and slide a glass underneath there, fill it up with wonderful tap water, and turn the tap back off and consume that. You might not want to do that. You might want to buy bottled water. In fact, they warned us all over the materials, the touring materials, do not drink the tap water. And so, hey, but there's this freshwater lake, the Sea of Galilee. You got all this water coming down. All this stuff's supposed to be good stuff. Hey, they're just telling us, you want to be careful. You're still careful today, 2,000 years later than when Jesus was there. And in those days, they used it turns to vinegar. Wine turns to vinegar if you just leave it out. But they used the wine in a solution that was 3 parts water, 2 parts wine to kill the stuff that's in the water. So you could drink it and not necessarily get drunk, but you could drink it and it wouldn't send you to the restroom with abdominal distress. And it was the culture of the day. So don't confuse what the Bible's talking about here with the alcohol that we preach against today. That's not, these guys, Jesus didn't say, all right, wet bar. We have an open bar at the wedding now. Everybody come on in. We're going to get loaded. No, that's not what was going on. Jesus was producing the wine that was necessary for this water purification process. They weren't drinking the wine in an effort to lose their senses and become intoxicated. Now, the water. It turned to wine as needed. And that's always something that I never really considered before. But if you read that verse carefully, but the servants which drew the water knew. The servants were drawing water out of the vessels, not wine out of the vessels. These 6 pitchers, they were used for cleansing between courses of the meal. Jesus would have never contaminated the cleansing vessels with wine. Those were supposed to also be the water vessels where we were going to cleanse our hands between the courses of the meal. So he used the water supply that was already designated for cleansing, and they just dipped into that. They dipped in, got water, and poured out wine. And so the miracle was happening as the servants were dipping out the water. And that's something that's really cool, because only the servants knew, is what the Bible tells us. That only the servants knew and actually saw the miracle. And I wrote this down, and I hope that you'll appreciate it. Sometimes as a servant, you get the best view of a miracle. And so there's something to it, being a person with a servant's heart. You are in the best vantage point to see the miraculous hand of God. Something for you to consider. And then D, the praise of the miracle comes in verse 10, and saith unto him, every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. The governor of the feast made the observation that normally the hosts would use their best wine, then after everyone had sampled it and it was depleted, then the inferior wines would be used. But in this case, he proclaimed the wine that Jesus had miraculously provided was in fact the superior wine. Finally, number 3, the meaningful significance comes in John chapter 2, verse 11. In this beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. First of all, Jesus will always make things better. Whenever Jesus comes into a life or a situation, he makes that situation or life better. Just like making water into fine wine. Jesus always left people better than how he found them. And that's exactly what he'll do in the life of anyone who trusts him today. And then finally, B, the world can only offer that which fades away. Jesus offers a life that will only get better. This miracle highlights the differences between the ways of God and the ways of the world. What do you mean? The world always gives the very best that they have to offer, and then it goes downhill from there. After you're trapped, then you get on this slide, and it never is as good as it was in the beginning. But with God, things always get better the longer you know and serve him. The song is true. It goes every day with Jesus is sweeter than the day before. And that's certainly true. He proved it here at the first miracle. The celebration of this wedding got better as it went longer. That's the way our life should be with Jesus Christ. We should be filled with joy, not running around like a bunch of sourpusses. Let's consider that this week as we continue our journey with the Lord. Then we'll come back next week and look at some of the other miracles of Christ. Let's